Are you the parent or caregiver of a child who's around 3 years old? Maybe they've just turned 3 or they're under the age of 3.5. They're about to start preschool and you're wondering how to help them answer WH questions. WH questions are the foundations for preschool learning, and there's three main ones that are expected of a child of around 3. There's who questions, there's what questions, and there's where questions. And normally at the age of around 3, a child should be able to answer these with just one-word utterances or with small phrases. So how do you help your child do this? Well, you've come to the right place. Hi, my name is Amini. I'm a speech and language pathologist with several years of experience working with children under the age of 10 and their parents and caregivers to maximize speech and language development. I'm also the owner of a pediatric speech therapy practice, Smarter Speech, in the Bay Area. And my mission with this channel is to empower parents and caregivers of children, especially with children under the age of 5, because this is when a child's brain is developing so rapidly and the foundations for learning and for many years down the road are being set in stone. So little changes that you make in the way you're talking to your child or playing with your child can have huge implications for learning down the line. So without further ado, let's get started. How can you help your child with answering who, what, and where questions? One of the easiest ways to answer and to model how to answer these questions is to just show your child how it is that you would ask the question and answer the question in play or in daily routines. If I really want to drive home the question that I'm working on, I'll ask and answer the question at least a few times before I move on to the next one. And what I'll do is I'll isolate the WH question for a particular activity. So what do I mean by this? Well, the easiest way that I can show you this is with reading and with books. And when I'm working on what questions, one of the easiest ways to work on this is with books that have what in the title. In this case, Eric Carle's Brown Bear, What Do You See? Is perfect for this. And it's also part of quite a bit of preschool curriculum. So Brown Bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. What does he see? A red bird. Do you remember what he saw again? A red bird. So very subtly and sneakily, I asked and answered the question a few times before I turned the page. Red bird, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. Do you remember what he saw again? He saw a duck. What did he see? Which animal? A duck. What does the red bird see? He sees a duck. So again, I asked that what, and I showed the kind of an answer that you would expect for this sort of a question. So this is a very easy book because the question is in the text, but even if it's not in the text, you can do the same thing. So say you're reading a book and you've finished reading whatever was on the page, and then you could say, oh, and then what did the horse do? Oh, he neighed, right? What did he do? He neighed. And then turn the page. So for every main picture or illustration that you see, maybe one illustration per couple of pages, you can ask a what question, model how to answer, and then you can turn the page. After you've done the same book a few times, so maybe you've done Brown Bear 2 or 3 times, or you've done any other book 2 or 3 times, then you can start asking the WH questions and waiting for your child to answer. In this case, since we're only focusing on what question, you could say, what does the green frog see? And then wait to see what the green frog sees and wait for an answer. So that's a great way, is just during reading. Again, focus on one type of WH question at a time, especially in the beginning. So with this one, I showed you how to target a what question. The next type of question that you can work on is who questions. And I love working on who questions when I play preschool board games. So Sneaky, Snacky, Squirrel is a great fun game. I'll show you in just a second how to play. And it's meant for children 3 and up. So when you are playing this game, you are trying to fill the stump with acorns. And And each person gets a turn spinning to find out what exactly they got and which color acorn or how many acorns. So when you're teaching who questions, each time you're playing this game, you can say, whose turn is it? My turn. Or whose turn is it? Your turn. So whose turn is it? My turn. Whose? Mine. Here you can repeat it a few times if you want, or you can just rely on the structure of the game because who will happen every single turn. So whose turn is it? By the time the game ends, you'll have said at least 10, 15, 20 times, and your child will start to notice that with who, there was also always the name of a person attached. You or me or daddy or big brother or whoever. So whose turn is it is a great one. Or you can say, maybe in this case, the squirrel sometimes steals the acorns. So who is stealing the acorns? Or who is sad? The squirrel is. Who stole the acorns? The squirrel did. Again, these you don't need to repeat quite next to each other because these questions will come up quite often over the course of the game. And if you're just focusing on who questions for the duration of any sort of a game, you will really kind of hammer in the point that who corresponds to a person. And you will show your child how to answer those who questions. The next question is where questions. Where questions are so great because they also work on another crucial language milestone, which is prepositions. So when you're working on where questions, you're teaching your child prepositions. So I love doing where questions with doll houses, just because every time you're trying to set this up, you're going to ask a where question. You can do a dollhouse, a police station, a fire station, anything that looks like something that needs to be set up. And then you could talk about where each thing goes. So for example, where does the chair go? Oh, this goes in the dining room. Or where does the table go? In the dining room. Where does this chair go? In the dining room. Where does the bed go? In the bedroom or above the dining room. There's our preposition. Where does the slide go? Oh, it goes in the back, in the backyard or behind the house. So again, with these, you can repeat 1 or 2 times if you want. Where does it go? Behind the house. Or you can just rely on the fact that you're going to be saying so many where questions all at once as you arrange the dollhouse. And it's all right to be doing that and your child will follow along. So with each of these 3 questions, one of the things that I want to highlight is just how slowly I spoke when I was modeling the questions and how much of a gap I gave between the question and the answer. I did this for 2 reasons. A, it helps the child process and remember. B, it also helps the child because you're giving a little bit of a gap where your child can chime in and try to answer the question if they want, which is always helpful. If that's something that they are going to do, having that pause and that gap will extra encourage them. So that's how I would work on my what, who, and where questions. Again, what questions you could work on with books. You can work on who questions with games and where questions with setting any toy up. Some disclaimers: if you are worried about your child's ability to answer WH questions, especially as the months go by and you continue to be concerned, it's a good thing to mention to your child's teacher or to make an appointment with a speech therapist to get evaluated or see what suggestions they might have for you. Sooner than later is always better. You can always after you have contacted your teacher, the teacher might suggest another process for contacting the school speech therapist as well. This, of course, would be if your child is going to a public school and if they're in the American public school system. So that's definitely something you can do as well. I hope that these tips helped you. If they did, please subscribe to see more content about preschool language development. You can also check out the description box below where there's a link to our mailing list with free monthly tips on preschool language development. There's also a link to our ebook, a link to our parent education course, and there's also links to some of the toys and the games and the books that I demoed in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped you, and happy talking.